Money. Now that's a funny word, isn't it? Makes people twitch. Makes him lie, beg, kill, dream, pray, all in the same breath. You mention a pile of it, and suddenly everybody's got morals they're willing to sell at half price. But here's the real trick. What if I told you it was already yours? That while you were busy looking under rocks and chasing crumbs, someone slipped the whole cake under your nose. Not as a joke, but as a setup. A divine little twist in the script where you stop crawling and realize the gold wasn't hidden. You just weren't looking with the right kind of eyes. They always talk about wealth like it's a number, like it lives in a bank, wears a suit, drinks expensive coffee, and smiles only when the interest rate drops. But that's the version they sell to the desperate. The real thing, it moves quiet. Doesn't dress loud, doesn't arrive with a marching band. It sneaks in when everything in you finally shuts up. When the chaos in your mind stops trying to control everything. When the voices that kept screaming, "Why not me?" finally sit down and listen. And then it walks in, uninvited, unbothered, unmissable. See, doesn't like noise. Real wealth is allergic to begging, it's terrified of desperation. You chase it too loud, it hides. You act like you need it more than breath, it vanishes. But when you sit still, not lazy, still it circles back. Like it was watching you the whole time, waiting for you to stop clawing and start aligning. People don't get that. They think money comes to those who hustle hardest, scream loudest, flash brightest. But that's not wealth. That's a circus act. Real wealth doesn't like the spotlight. It prefers silence, discipline. The kind of quiet that feels like power. You ever wonder why some people have everything on paper, but nothing ever sticks? It's because their soul's too loud, always grabbing, always fearing, always trying to prove something. But wealth doesn't like fear. It doesn't trust anxiety. It smells panic like blood in water. That's why the ones who get it really get it. They don't talk about it much. They don't post every dollar. They don't flex every win. They just breathe. And the money follows. Not because they're lucky. Because they're ready, and ready doesn't mean having a strategy or a spreadsheet. Ready means peace. The kind of peace that says, if it comes, good. If it doesn't, I'm still whole. That's magnetic, that's terrifying. That's what draws everything to you without lifting a finger. Because now you're not chasing, you're attracting. You're not begging, you're choosing. And everything changes when you stop acting like wealth is your master and start walking like it's your shadow. People won't understand it. They'll call you lazy, call you lucky. Say you must have cheated, lied, sold something, sold out. Because how dare you look that calm in a world addicted to struggle? But what they don't know is that your quiet isn't weakness, it's alignment. You bled for this peace. You buried versions of yourself for it. You starved for it while feeding others. And now that the silence has finally settled in, so has the reward. Not because you forced it, because you finally stopped forcing everything. It's funny, isn't it? How life flips. 1 minute you're holding on by a thread, praying under your breath, hiding your overdraft tears behind a smile. And the next, everything clicks. And not because the world got easier, but because you got quieter. You stopped reacting. You stopped explaining. You stopped convincing people to see your worth. And in that silence, the world shifted. Not with a roar, with a whisper. Unlocked, a wire connected, an idea call, a number you didn't expect. And suddenly, what you were chasing all those years just arrives. Like it knew where you were all along, but here's the part they never put in the books. Wealth doesn't change you. It reveals you. If you were chaos before, it'll make you louder. If you were empty before, it will leave you hollow with more expensive distractions. But if you were already full, already grounded, then it amplifies everything good, turns your silence into a symphony, your peace into power. That's why it waits. It waits for you to stop pretending, stop performing, stop thinking you've got to scream to be seen. Because when you finally go quiet, really quiet, you don't just attract wealth. You become it. Funny, isn't it? How people think pain goes unpaid. Like the universe just takes your tears and laughs. Like all those nights you couldn't breathe, all those mornings you woke up with nothing but dread were just wasted. See, they don't tell you this, but suffering's got a payroll. It just doesn't pay in applause. It pays in something bigger, something that doesn't show up until your hands have forgotten how to beg. Because the real payout comes after silence. After you've buried versions of yourself no one even noticed died, you walk through fire and people say stay strong, like that's supposed to help. They don't see your skin peeling, your sanity cracking, the way your soul trembles behind this big that perfect little smile. No one claps for the unseen battles. No one throws a parade for staying alive when everything inside you won every T. But something was watching. Something was keeping count. Not the world, no, the world's too loud and distracted. But the story. The one written beneath all the noise. That one. It remembers everything, so when the money comes, when the favor starts falling out of nowhere, when the door opens without you knocking, they'll say you're lucky. Say you must have known someone. Say it's a scam. Because people hate unexplained blessings. They like formulas. Struggle for 10 years, win for one. Suffer in silence, die a legend. But what they can't process is when life starts rewarding pain without permission. When grace shows up without an invoice. When the universe drops bags at your feet and says, yeah, this is for all the times you didn't break. And it's not about revenge. That's too small. It's not about proving them wrong. That's too loud. It's about justice. The kind that doesn't scream. The kind that whispers, that waits, that shows up when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, when you've given up on the idea of being seen. That's when it hits. Not like a check in the mail, like a shift. In your chest. In your eyes, like your spine finally remembers what it feels like to stand tall without shaking. Most people won't shock. They think reward only comes to the loud, the consistent, the planners, the ones who tick every box. But you broke the box. Lived outside it. Burned the damn checklist and still kept showing up. Bruised, but breathing, empty, but trying. They don't measure that. There's no app for that. But that's the currency heaven recognizes. That's the kind of value spreadsheets can't touch, and you didn't ask for it. That's the wild part. You weren't hustling for the payout. You were just surviving. One scar at a time. You kept giving even when your hands were bleeding. You kept loving even when your heart was cracked like old pavement. And the world said, that's weakness. But somewhere beyond the noise, a tab was being kept. Every time you said, I'm fine, when you weren't. Every time you poured into someone else when you were running on fumes. Every time you carried pain with no promise of relief. All of it logged, all of it counted, so when the reward comes, don't flinch. Don't question it. Don't shrink. It's not a fluke. It's a payment. For the nights you didn't sleep. For the moments you didn't scream. For the faith you had when there was zero evidence. It's not charity. It's not a favor. It's a transaction. You gave pain. You gave silence. You gave patience. And now you get return. And it's messy. Oh, it's wild. Because it doesn't come like they said it would. It doesn't show up in polite little envelopes or neat little job titles. It shows up fast, loud, in ways that make people uncomfortable, in ways that make even you blink twice and say, is this real? But deep down, you knew it was coming. Not how or when, but that it had to. Because nothing that costly goes unpaid forever. So when it hits, don't apologize, don't explain, just take it. Receive it like someone who earned it in silence. Because that's exactly what you did. It's always timing. Not talent, not talk, not how many followers, not how loud you scream into the void hoping someone answers back. Timing. The great equalizer, the grand thief, the invisible hand behind every rise and every fall. People plan their lives like clocks tick on command, like the universe owes them a schedule. They set alarms, mark calendars, expect doors to open just because it's Monday. But timing doesn't care about calendars. It comes when it wants to. And if you're not still enough to catch it, it leaves just as fast as it came. Everyone's running, rushing, scrambling to arrive. But what they don't get is that timing doesn't run with you. It waits where you're supposed to be. And if you're too busy moving in panic, trying to force your way into moments that aren't yours yet, you'll miss the moment meant for you. That's the real joke. People lose what's theirs by chasing what's not. They think motion equals progress, but sometimes movement is just noise. Sometimes the power move is stillness. Sometimes it's waiting while everyone else burns themselves out trying to kick down a door you were simply meant to walk to worry or some. While the time is right, they'll laugh at you, of course. Call you lazy, call you lost. Because waiting looks like weakness in a world addicted to urgency. They'll say you're not trying hard enough, that you're not serious, that you're wasting your shot. But what they don't see is that the delay is not denial, it's direction. They don't see the clock ticking behind the curtain, the gears aligning, the pieces moving into place for an entrance no one expects, not even you. Because the blessing doesn't come when you're ready. It comes when the moment is ready for you. You try to rush it, you wreck it. You try to jump ahead, you land where you don't belong. You end up somewhere you prayed for but weren't prepared for. And that's the worst kind of punishment, getting something too soon. Because it looks like a gift, but it's a trap. And suddenly what should have been a miracle becomes a mess. So the delay, that ache in your chest, that waiting room with no clock and no answers, that's mercy, not punishment. Mercy. Because sometimes the only thing separating your dream from disaster is 5 more minutes of patience, but try telling that to someone who's starving. Try telling that to someone who's been faithful, quiet, loyal, broken, tired, and still nothing. Nothing but silence. Nothing but empty hands and fake smiles. Try telling them to wait when all they hear is their own heartbeat echoing in an empty hallway. It sounds cruel, doesn't it? But timing doesn't care about feelings. It negotiates with desperation. It doesn't speed up just because you're crying. It's not heartless, it's strategic. And if you can survive the silence, if you can outlast the urge to move too soon, that's when it hits. Suddenly, brutally, perfectly, and when it does, oh, it changes everything. Not just the outside, the car, the house, the zeros in the account. No, the inside. Your breath slows, your voice changes. You don't flinch anymore. You walk like the ground owes you stability. Because when the right moment finally catches up to you, it heals everything that broke on the way there. It makes the waiting make sense. It makes the losses feel like seeds. It makes the silence sound like strategy. You start to see it everywhere then. The missed calls that were actually protection. The closed doors that were divine pauses. The betrayals that pushed you into solitude just long enough to hear the instructions. It was all timing. Every bit of it, not random, not wasted, not punishment. A setup. A build-up. And suddenly you're not bitter anymore. You're not angry. You're not envious. You're aware. That every not yet was really a just wait, but awareness is a lonely gift. Because once you have it, you can't run like the others. You can't force things like before. You become dangerous, quiet, unshakable. Because you've seen what happens when you stop chasing and start trusting. And now you move differently. You don't flinch when things take longer than expected. You don't panic when others seem ahead. You know better. You know it's all about timing. And this time you're not missing what's yours. You ever watch people unwrap gifts too early? Ripping at the paper, shaking the box, trying to guess what's inside before it's time. They think they're clever, think they're in control. But the best gifts, oh, they don't come easy. They come sealed, locked, hidden in plain sight. And the moment you try to force them open, you ruin the surprise. You spoil what was meant to change everything. That's the tragedy of impatience. The hunger to know before it's revealed. The desire to touch before it's yours to hold. See, most people don't wait for good things. They chase, they grab, they tear. They confuse movement with progress, attention with love, noise with meaning. They want the spotlight, but not the silence that makes it powerful. They want the result, but not the mystery. And mystery now, that's the secret sauce. That's the magic. That's what makes the moment mean something. You take that away and all you've got is a hollow win, a cheap thrill, a miracle with the soul sucked out of it, but you were told something, weren't you? Something big, something heavy. And now you're looking around like, where is it? That's the funny thing about being chosen. You hear the promise before you see the proof. You feel the weight of a future that hasn't happened yet. And it messes with your head. You start doubting, pacing, talking too much. Telling people things they're not ready to hear. Things you're not even ready to carry out. And that's the trap. That's where most people lose the very thing they were meant to receive. Because the instruction was clear, keep quiet. But silence is hard, isn't it? Especially when you're sitting on fire, when your insides are screaming with expectation, when every part of you wants to shout. It's happening. It's really happening. But silence is strategy. Silence is protection. Silence keeps the wolves guessing. It shields the thing growing in secret. Because not everything that's coming for you is friendly. Not every ear deserves your vision. Not every listener is rooting for your win. And yet you feel it, don't you? The shift, the pull, like something's moving in the shadows on your behalf. Something aligning that you didn't orchestrate. You weren't even trying. You were just breathing, just surviving. And now here it comes. But it doesn't look loud. It doesn't look flashy, it's subtle. Private. Like a whisper only your spirit can hear. Like an answer hidden inside a quiet moment, so you start to question your own sanity. You ask, is this it? Am I crazy for thinking this is real? Because nothing on the outside looks like what was promised. You don't have the money, the applause, the confirmation. All you've got is the feeling. That deep, unnerving feeling that something's about to crash into your life and rewrite the script. That the waiting wasn't in vain. That the silence was the signal, not the punishment. And oh, how tempting it is to say something, to give a little preview, to let the world know what's coming so they can start adjusting to your new level. But not yet, not yet. The power's in the pause. The glory's in the grand reveal. And if you speak too soon, you give the enemy time to prepare you alert the wrong audience. You expose something that was still being shaped, still being protected by the hush this. This is your moment to zip it. To smirk in silence. To walk like you know something they don't. 'Cause you do. You know that the miracle isn't in the making noise, it's in moving in silence. It's in letting the moment come to you fully formed, fully yours, with no strings attached. Not because you earned it with volume, but because you respected it enough to stay still. But silence is a form of war too. It's a battle against your own need for validation, your own craving for claps and confirmation. It's fighting the urge to broadcast your breakthrough before it lands, because deep down you know that if it's real, it doesn't need a teaser. If it's truly yours, it doesn't need permission to show up. It will arrive full force, and when it does, you won't need to say a word. The moment will speak for itself. You ever see someone walking around with a big grin on their face and no one knows about her? Like they're in on a joke the rest of the world missed. Like they've already seen how it all ends and they're just playing along. That's the look of someone who knows something's coming. Not because they saw it, not because someone confirmed it, but because they felt it deep, deeper than reason can reach. Like an itch under the skin that says something's about to break loose. That's the kind of knowing that can't be faked, can't be explained, and sure as hell can't be shared too soon, because the moment you say too much, they'll try to kill it. Not literally, of course, no one's that bold anymore. They'll kill it quietly, with doubt, with side eyes, with jokes they call harmless. You really think that's gonna happen? Now you're dreaming too big, and just like that they start putting holes in your boat before you even hit the water. That's why the instruction wasn't get excited, it wasn't make noise, it wasn't celebrate early. It was move, but keep quiet. A whisper wrapped in fire, a command for the chosen, not the curious, because when something this big is headed your way, it doesn't need your mouth, it needs your movement. Small steps, unseen adjustments. A shift in posture that tells the universe, I'm ready now. Not loud, not flashy, just deliberate, calculated, surgical. Because the gift that's coming isn't meant to be paraded before it lands. It's a secret mission, a silent takeover, a private ceremony dressed as a public miracle. But here's the funny part, most people can't handle that kind of silence. They'd rather spill it. Brag early. Get the likes, the applause, the premature validation, but not you. You've been trained in shadows. You've learned the art of not flinching when it's quiet. You've mastered the discipline of not moving until it's time. Because you've seen what happens when people speak too soon. You've watched them announce things that never came. You've seen their excitement turn to embarrassment. And you're not playing that game. You'd rather let it cook, let it build. Let it become something unstoppable while the world thinks you're just existing. And oh, how delicious it is to feel the tension. To carry the weight of what's on the way and still say nothing. Not because you're unsure, but because you're certain. Certain that what's yours doesn't need to be defended. Certain that what's about to happen can't be stopped. Only delayed if you fumble the silence. So you lock your lips. You smile in code. You nod at timing like an old friend you trust more than logic. Don't know jit. The glow. The shift. The sudden calm that wraps around your chaos like a well-tailored suit. They'll ask what's changed. But you won't answer. Because how do you explain a promise disguised as pressure? How do you unpack a miracle that's still unfolding inside you? You don't. You just keep walking, keep preparing, keep becoming. Because that's what this phase is for. Becoming, not announcing, not proving, just becoming.